A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. This week's G7 summit in Canada is expected to take a dramatic turn as the focus shifts from anticipated discussions on Russia's war against Ukraine and Donald Trump's tariff wars to the escalating conflict in the Middle East. Leaders from the world's major economies are gathering in the picturesque Rocky Mountains of Alberta, but the agenda has been reshaped by Israel's recent military actions against Iran. This unexpected development will likely dominate conversations, overshadowing other pressing issues on the table. As the leaders prepare to arrive in Canada, the implications of Israel's strikes are becoming increasingly clear. The G7, comprised of Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Canada, and Japan, will find itself grappling with the complexities of this conflict, which could have far-reaching consequences not just for the region, but for global security and economic stability. The potential for an escalation that could involve other nations raises alarms about soaring oil prices and geopolitical instability. Diverging opinions among the leaders are already surfacing. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron have called for restraint and de-escalation, emphasizing the need for diplomatic solutions. In stark contrast, Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba has condemned Israel's actions as intolerable, while former President Trump has lauded the strikes as excellent. This divergence in perspectives highlights the challenges the G7 will face in achieving a unified stance on the issue. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney had initially hoped to steer the summit towards a more celebratory tone, marking the G7's 50th anniversary with discussions focused on non-controversial topics such as energy security, digital transitions, and environmental challenges. However, the tumultuous geopolitical landscape has forced a recalibration of priorities. In light of past tensions, particularly during the 2018 summit where Trump withdrew support for the communiqué, Carney's team has opted for a more cautious approach, favoring short, action-oriented statements over a lengthy communiqué to minimize disputes. As the summit unfolds, questions linger about the efficacy of these gatherings and the current political climate. Trump's preference for bilateral negotiations over multilateral consensus has raised doubts about the future of the G7 as a cohesive unit. Observers are keenly watching how Trump will navigate this summit, especially given the new faces around the table, including leaders from Germany, Japan, and Canada. The looming trade war also presents a significant challenge for the G7. Established in the 1970s to address global economic crises, the group now finds itself at odds over tariffs imposed by one of its own members. World leaders are expected to argue that if Trump seeks their cooperation in countering threats from China, he must reconsider the economic hardships his tariffs impose on allied nations. The delicate balance between national interests and collective security is at stake. In the context of Ukraine, President Zelensky is set to join discussions aimed at assessing Trump's stance towards Russia. Allies are eager to increase pressure on President Putin to negotiate, with a focus on reducing the global price of Russian oil and implementing new economic sanctions. The European Commission has proposed a fresh round of penalties targeting Moscow's energy sector, while U.S. senators advocate for steep tariffs on countries purchasing discounted Russian oil. This week's summit is a pivotal moment for the G7, as it grapples with existential questions about its relevance and effectiveness in a rapidly changing geopolitical landscape. As leaders engage in discussions, the world will be watching closely to see if the G7 can still function as a steering committee for the free world, or if its days of driving global consensus are numbered. With tensions high and stakes even higher, the outcomes of this summit could shape international relations for years to come. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.